In the Impact segment tonight, the absentee president. While the scandals and crisis facing the White House seem to grow like mold in my fridge, President Obama is in the middle of a three-day fundraising bonanza out in California. Last night, he headlined a bash at the home of actress/herb garden Gwyneth Paltrow, where tickets cost up to $32,000 a person. While introducing the president, Paltrow is quoted as saying, "I am one of your biggest fans, if not the biggest. You're so handsome that I can't speak properly." Sorry, Gwyneth, you were like that before you met Obama. The president seems thrilled to rake in cash from the worshipping Hollywood elite. It certainly beats running the country into the ground. Here to debate it from Tampa, Jessica Ehrlich, a Democratic strategist, and from D.C., Pete Snyder, a Republican strategist and Fox News contributor. So, Pete, can you blame Gwyneth for swooning? She's right. The president is a handsome man.
Well, I can't opine on that one. I understand that she got caught up in the moment. The problem I have, Greg, is that President Obama isn't listening to his generals, and he seems to be listening and taking the advice of Gwyneth Paltrow. When he drew the ire of the internet just this week when she suggested that the best way to live your life was to spend half your day taking long walks and having long meals with family members and loved ones. It's very clear the president is doing just that. He's AWOL.
She is now his closest advisor. Hey, Jessica, I have an analogy here. I think there's a connection between the fundraising and the crises that are going on. If a kid is playing video games all day, his grades will suffer. But it's not the games that are at fault. It's the time-consuming obsession that is hurting his grades. Couldn't Obama's addiction to applause, which he gets through fundraising, be the reason why we're seeing so much bad stuff going on?
I don't think there's really a connection there at all, because the president, being the president of the United States, is actually the head of the Democratic Party as well. Yep. We have a major midterm election coming up. It's crucial to the next 2 years of his administration that he maintain control of the Senate and that the losses aren't too horrible in the House of Representatives. And it absolutely behooves him to be out fundraising and helping as many candidates that he can and helping his party, because otherwise he will have his hands really tied for the last 2 years of his candidacy. So this is a very important time for him. And I'm actually more relieved to see him doing the fundraising he is now than he did back in 2012, right after the election, or even back in 2010.
Well, that's a good point. Pete, she says it's an important time for fundraising. However, he's done 415 fundraisers in the same time frame that Bush did 244. So that's almost double. So the guy would hit up a tree if he thought it had a wallet. It hasn't. I mean, at some point, this has to have some effect on governance, right?
Well, it absolutely is, Greg. I mean, he is on pace to nearly double what President Bush and triple what President Clinton did. And look, President Clinton was a political animal. That said, he was working, even with all the other things he was doing in office. He managed to be there 18 hours a day, and the country felt that he was certainly in charge. This president just simply doesn't want to be on the job. And it's not what Republicans are saying. Forget my side. It's what the Democrats and his cabinet members are saying. Look at what Leon Panetta and Bob Gates and the Washington Post are saying about him, that he's feckless, that he lacks the desire to lead, that he's a complainer. That's his problem.
Well, Jessica, let's go back to Gwyneth for a moment, because I find this interesting in that I feel like she's a symbol of media and entertainment in which they overlook the flaws and the incompetence in favor of charisma and cool. She's as deep as a contact lens, and that seems to be his strongest followers. Does that worry you?
I don't know Gwyneth Paltrow personally.
Neither do I.
I can't speak to how deep she is or not deep. I mean, I do look at her, Goop blog and stuff like that. I mean, I like it. But, it's one of those things where, she is an American citizen. She has every right to be awestruck by a charismatic president. Every president that I have met, no matter whether I agreed with them politically or not, I was like, wow, that is a really impressive person. And so there is always that sense when you meet the president of the United States. They should be charismatic. They are the president. president. They are the leader of the free world. And, you know, she has every right to raise money, to give her own money, and to speak in favor of whatever political candidate she has. That doesn't mean I agree with her or you agree with her, but, you know, I think the president has a lot of other followers. If he can raise money from people in the media, that's fantastic. He can raise money from people in the tech industry. Just because you're an actress or an actor or a director or producer doesn't mean that you have any less right to give money or support a political candidate. You are still an American citizen.
You're absolutely right. You know what I love, Pete, is President Obama had a fundraiser with a billionaire named Rich Richman. While he was there, he slammed billionaires. That's like criticizing obesity while spooning Ronald McDonald in a waterbed.
Was his dog Dollar and the rest of the Richie Rich crew there as well? I imagine it might be. I mean, look, the problem is we hired a guy. The American people hired a guy who had absolutely no experience. Think about it. If he were up for a job of a publicly traded company, he wouldn't get through the HR department. Being a state senator and a part-time law professor, he wouldn't even make it in the door. He wrote a bestseller, and he's a celeb, and that's how he's guiding the country, and we're paying the price right now.
Well, I got to say, you know, he won 2 elections, so he's doing something right. It's up to the Republicans to somehow create, I don't know, an articulate, persuasive dialogue that actually does better. Okay, Jessica, Pete, thanks. Next on the rundown, they're not booing him, they're looing him. Lou Dobbs, the prophet. And we knew it all along. A big prediction he made about the Obama administration scandals come true. He'll tell us why it could impact the midterm elections. And he's going to pick my lotto tickets, too, when the Factor comes right back.